Welcome to the latest Motley Fool scoreboard. I'm on in Chock Blue, and we've got longtime fools Rick Munarriz and Dan Caplinger giving a 1 to 10 rating to the Cyrano de Bergerac for e-commerce companies not named Amazon. It's Shopify, ticker symbol SHOP. Talk about the business first, including factors like industry and competition. A 10 is invincible. A 1 is hopeless. Dan's at a 7. Rick, you're at an 8.
Yeah, so Shopify, obviously an e-commerce platform for the masses, a Canadian company, but global with 175 country reach. It started as Toby Luckey and a friend wanting to sell snowboards online about 20 years ago. When he didn't see an e-commerce platform that he liked, he created his own. And other budding online entrepreneurs asked him if they could use it, and voila, the Shopify business model was born in 2006. So more than $1 trillion in merchandise has been sold on Shopify's platform since then. More importantly, more than half of that gross merchandise value has actually happened in the last 2 years. Shopify started as a place for sole proprietors or small companies wanting an online presence, but now it's evolved through Shopify Plus and other initiatives to cover companies of all sizes. 875 million unique online shoppers purchased something from a Shopify merchant in 2024. It's seamless, intuitive for sellers, but naturally there's Amazon, eBay, and others e-commerce rivals that can make that small learning curve even smaller. Shopify's advantage here, I see it, is that the users own their own site. They're not competing against anyone else for attention, but they also have to generate the traffic to their sites. Shopify also has made a move offline, providing point of sale solutions for physical retailers and event vendors, making it a direct competitor of Block Square platform. The Shopify model isn't perfect. 2 years ago, they did unload their logistics business. But however, winners keep winning, and Shopify is Canada's second largest company by market cap. Only the Royal Bank of Canada is larger, but it's easy to see why growth investors may prefer to bank on Shopify.
Yeah, Rick pretty much covered everything. I think Shopify has done a really good job of democratizing e-commerce a little bit, providing some place where smaller companies, smaller retail businesses can go without necessarily getting totally overwhelmed by the platform. Shopify's done a good job of expanding the platform and adding services. And it's just, as you say, some growing pains along the way, but overall done a really good job.
For management, a 10 is Warren Buffett. A 1 is Homer Simpson. Dan's at a 7, and once again, Rick's at an 8.
Yeah, so Luckey is still at the helm here, obviously. He's still quotable. He's still winning. Shopify is a 54 bagger since going public 10 years ago. President Harley Finkelstein has been there for 15 years, so he has also been there for the entirety of Shopify's run as a successful publicly traded life. The only reason I'm not higher than an 8, it's surprising to me that half of the employees polled by Glassdoor approve, or in other ways don't approve, either way, 50% of Luckey as CEO. And actually less than that, 48% of the employees wouldn't recommend, only 48% would recommend working at Shopify to a friend. So I do not like that.
Yeah, I give it a 7 in part, kind of because I get that same kind of feel to it. I almost wonder if this is a situation where you have a co-founder CEO who might be happier moving into less of an executive management role. We've seen a bunch of former CEO co-founders switch over to become chief technology officer or do something else that more aligns with whatever it is that they're passionate about. I kind of wonder if that might be the move for Shopify here, but you can't dispute the fact that Lutkey puts his money where his mouth is, still has a huge stake in the company, financial incentives totally aligned, and we're always glad to see that.
For financials, a 10 is a fortress, a 1 is yikes. Dan's at a 7, Rick's at a 9.
Yeah, so a lot of growth stocks slow down as they get larger, but Shopify is actually accelerating right now. Revenue went from rising 24% in 2023 to 26% last year. It's doing even better if we zoom in. Revenue rose a better than expected 31% in its latest quarter, its strongest quarterly growth showing in more than 3 years. Shopify has been generating positive free cash flow for 9 consecutive quarters, and its latest quarter generated 22 cents in free cash flow on every dollar of revenue. Shopify also has a relatively clean balance sheet with a strong net cash position, and it also doesn't hurt to zoom out. Revenue at Shopify has more than tripled in the last 4 years and soared 5-fold in the last 5 years. You can't spell Shopify without HOP.
I gave it a lower number. I gave it a 7. You can't dispute the numbers that you've seen. I think that part of where I'm a little bit nervous, as we tape this in early mid-March, a whole bunch of geopolitical tension that is affecting trade of goods. And the extent to which, a lot of Shopify transactions happen within national borders. And so you're not going to have a tariff issue. You're not going to have any sort of trade war issue. But a decent amount does happen internationally. And so the question for me is, between the direct impact of tariffs on e-commerce and the indirect impact potentially, if there is an economic slowdown because of it, I have to be a little bit wondering whether future growth might slow as a result of that. Especially, you've got a Canadian company and you've got a whole bunch of U.S. participants that somehow in 2025 has turned into something that we're having to pay attention to.
Rick, let's talk valuation. How well will Shopify stock do over the next 5 years? How safe is it? 10 is a sure thing. 1 is a lottery ticket.
Yeah, so I went with a 5 to 10% 5-year return on the stock and a safety score of 7. So Shopify, the stock has nearly tripled over the past 5 years. So suggesting it'll only grow at a 5 to 10% annualized clip over the next 5 years with a long runway of double-digit revenue growth in that time may seem conservative. I just think the valuation here seems a little stretched at this point. Shopify is trading for 13 times trailing revenue and more than 60 times trailing earnings. To me, it's a bit rich, and I don't know if it's 100% justified, but I do see that obviously doing well overall, making that back as growth keeps outpacing the stock in the next couple of years. Dan?
I agree with the evaluation comment. I think I'm a little more pessimistic just on the general economics of retail and e-commerce going forward. I gave it 0 to 5% with safety score of 6. I think we're going to be in the mid single digits. I don't see a 0% return. We have seen a big rebound recently. I think that there is a real risk that we have a consumer-led recession. It might put pressure on retailers. It might last longer than some of the mini recessions that we've seen in the past. Trade tensions, trends towards deglobalization. I'm just concerned that that's going to hurt the company more than a lot of people are giving credit to at this point.
Time for everyone's favorite topic. Rick, is there a company in Shopify's space you like more?
I like Shopify, obviously, but I went with Block, now a direct competitor with Square, now that Shopify is a bigger force in point of sale and offline sales. Block is growing a lot slower than Shopify, and revenue is decelerating. It was just less than 5% revenue growth in its latest quarter, but it's trading for 12 times earnings and just 1.5 times sales, and analysts see growth accelerating this year and again in 2026. So I went with Block sort of as a value-based play on digital finance.
I give you 2 companies. I think if you like e-commerce and you like the idea of an area with what could be potentially stronger economic growth, Mercado Libre, ticker MELI, gives you that Latin American exposure. I think that's a more interesting market than the North American market at this point. They also, too, Mercado Libre has done a good job of giving associated services on top of e-commerce. And so you get payments, you get shipping, you get a whole bunch of stuff that I think helps their customers, both their customers and their merchants, do things better. On the other hand, Amazon, ticker AMZN, an obvious choice in e-commerce, and you get Amazon Web Services for no extra charge. And so that's something that I think may appeal to a bunch of people as well.
Thank you to both Dan and to Rick. They're giving Shopify an all right but surprisingly low overall score of 6.7 out of 10. Largely due to returns worries and valuation. It was only a little higher at 7.2 when we did it about a year ago. Look out for a new scoreboard every market day at 7 p.m. Eastern. Next up is Alphabet. Till then, Fool on.
You can't spell Shopify. I blew my line, but let's say you can't spell Shopify without HOP.